you so much, and may God bless you.
Thank you very much, CEO. We will just play a short video and then move on to the next item. Thank you.
Our unique experience with Direct Oracle Cloud, we have actually seen it being more secure, more scalable. We've also seen it providing dedicated bandwidth, which allows us to grow and also improve services. And on top of that, it actually benefits all the applications that we run internally and externally. The APN, 20 megabytes per second, MPLS actually offers dedicated bandwidth, which really assists us as ERS with our application, which are real-time and also with large data transfers across our ERS network and customer client. Our unique experience with MTN as our trusted connectivity partner, actually we are looking forward to more secure, more scalable. We've also seen it providing dedicated bandwidth, which allows us to grow and also improve services. And on top of that, it actually benefits all the applications that we run internally and externally. The APN, 20 megabytes per second, MPLS actually offers dedicated bandwidth, which really assists us as ERS with our application, which are real-time and also with large data transfers across our ERS network and customer clients. With MTN as our trusted connectivity partner, we are looking forward to better connectivity, more reliable, more resilient, more scalable, and more secure. To make our experience more unique, I believe that better communication, which is more open, would be very vital for operations within the organization. Would also acknowledge better scheduled outages, which were communicated prior, and also better teamwork in terms of response time when it comes to support. So with that, I believe that will make a great team and better development within ERS.
Because some of the things that the CEO has spoken to here, that's the unit that actually helps us to be able to roll out some of the solutions that are advanced that we are speaking to. Just want to check if he can hear the room. Hi, Sudipto. Good morning.
Hi there, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. You are welcome. Can I just hand over to you? And I hope that you are able to see the room. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm not able to see the room, but that's all right. I think in the interest of time, we can continue. I just wanted to confirm if everybody on the online and people that are in the room, can they see my presentation?
Yes,
Lisa, maybe if you can confirm.
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So before I start, once again, all the respected dignitaries that are there, the CEOs, the CIOs, the CFOs, all the dignitaries from the government, and MTN colleagues that are in the room. Good morning once again. My name is Sudipta Moitra. I'm the General Manager for ICT Solutions. Unfortunately, this morning I was supposed to get onto a plane and be in person with you guys. But unfortunately, there was a bit of technical challenge. Lungile and the colleagues for allowing me. And there are three things that I wanted to share with you. I know our CEO has also elaborated and painted a picture of the future technologies that we're talking about. What I wanted to do was continent, and there's so much of opportunity we can bring to bear in the telco. But where are we moving as a technology company, as a techco? That's the part that I would emphasize. And then Wandile has also asked me to touch on what are the solutions and the relevance that we can bring to bear as part of your digital transformation. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about, and then I'll take the lead from the colleagues in the room if there are any further questions and comments. So let me start with government. And again, when we talk about digitization in government, I think, in my opinion, digital is quite a big word. And I think the maturity of digital, what comprises of digital, is kind of also, is always different. I'm quite fortunate to go and chat to a lot of different, government delegates from different countries. As you guys are aware, MTN is present in about 19 markets, and the way we see the government and the digital, I mean, effectively, for Eswatini as well, what does the maturity of a city look like? I think we will all agree that any city, has got a great legacy, and that's kind of determined by whether it's a greenfield infrastructure or aging infrastructure, the population, the maintenance of high level of citizen welfare. That's what every city in one shape or form has got from a legacy perspective. And the new controls water, construction and the operational issues. And we always find in the context of, accelerating digital, the transitioning is then talking about different geographies with different age groups, and the reality is that when we talk about digital for government, different cities have different needs, and the needs present themselves at different occasion. So from an MTN perspective, the way we are kind of constructing or co-creating the different digital strategies with government. And we really look forward with our EBU colleagues to unpack this, the enterprise business unit, to unpack this of the view of the smart city effectively. As you can see, the people that this framework talks to are, right from citizen to the employees of government to the innovators and the visitors. And I think what's very important is, in the public sector space, the dimension of a smart city obviously is talking about various verticals from the government, and what we call the third sector, which is also very important, the social enterprises, the non-profit organization, the charities, and the whole PPE, the public private partnership, becomes quite important, and hence the inclusiveness of the private sector across small medium enterprises and across industries, across retailers, and obviously the community by and large that you have to take in that ecosystem. And the interconnected city from a digital transformation that we are seeing possibly touches on different attributes of the government, from water, power, education, economy, social care, health services, as we all know. And fundamentally, from a dimension of a smart city, from a digital perspective, end of the day, it's the current and the future infrastructure that we're building, the hard currency of the infrastructure, and then the soft currency of the infrastructure. In my opinion and my experience, the soft currency of, community organization, governance and leadership Every country has got, every city has got a bit of a nuances, and that's how I think a smart city, the goals that we talk about around independence, safety, wealth, and sustainability becomes quite critical. If we look at the African advantage that we have, obviously, in Eswatini as well, the population, the urbanization, and the entrepreneurship, I think, is what the can-do approach is quite critical, which we see, I think, on the African continent, and that's the advantage. The smarter city can be various things, but MTN perspective, and I will cover that in the slide when I talk about the relevance that we can bring in around, simple things like connected. Sorry, there's a bit of a background noise that's coming in, Mangaliso. I just wanted to check if you guys can still hear me all right.
Yes, we can still hear you,
Okay.
Sir. However, I think maybe you can go off video. I think our connection is not too.
Is that better
I'm
now?
not sure from which side. Thank you. I think that's better.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for letting me know. So effectively, when we talk about the digitization in the government from a smart city perspective, it's about the different attributes, and I'll cover a little bit about what are we doing. Simple things like fleet tracking. How do we then leverage the next generation technologies that we as MTN can bring to bear, being a telco. Private networks, the 4G, 5G, etc. Every country has got a different kind of sort of a maturity, the network coverage, the post-pandemic, post-COVID, we don't talk about it, but how do we create smart connections with work from home? How do we look at the security posture of the country, and how do we look at smart utilities, etc. So that's the sort of the framework that we kind of use when we talk about the digital strategy. And obviously, as most of you probably would be aware, that as MTN we believe that everybody needs to benefit from the modern connected life, and that's why connectivity becomes the bedrock of what we call the smart city. So that's a bit of government from a digital perspective. If we look at banking, I mean, this is something that unfortunately, I'm not there in person to meet all of you, but I do understand that some of you are representing some of the big banks of the continent, and this should not be of any surprise. But I think we're all aware of the macroeconomic environment, especially in the banking world, the rising cybercrime threats, that are talking about the managing the risk profile from whether it's ransomwares or the other security controls that we need. And very importantly, the regulatory concerns, right? That kind of continues to change, depends on kind of the banks listed or even within the country, what are the postures that we need to have. And fundamentally, the operational risk and resiliency, I think, that kind of we see I think globally, what we are also seeing the customer expectation, whether it's the bank of the future, whether it's the bankless environment. I'm sure we all aware, whether all the big banks, Standard Bank, Nedbank, the banks in each of the countries, the banks that are coming from the north down, the likes of Access Bank, etc. Very, very interesting. Everybody has got that environmental and the social responsibility. So with some of these macro trends, what we are seeing, the digitization in the banking, the banking value chain, from our perspective, the framework that we're using when we are talking about the industry vertical sort of resonance, kind of pivots around these towers. The security, risk, and compliance, I think everybody's aware about. Big investments around the payments and transactions and where the bank of the future is going. At the heart of everything, I think, like us as a telco, as MTN, the customer relationship management, the product service delivery, the core banking, and then finally the customer acquisition. What then we have done is basically, when we talk about digital in the banking space, we have then mapped that with some of the key elements of the 4IR technologies, and I will talk a little bit about, the work that we are doing from an MTN group perspective, that we work with our colleagues in Eswatini, from an EBU perspective, how can we be relevant to you? But fundamentally, whether it's the AI-driven trends that is very real, and most of the banks on the continent, I think, are quite advanced in that. It's not like something new we're talking about. I mean, cloud computing, very, very relevant. I mean, based on the regulatory requirements, we find that different banks are kind of shaping the postures of the whole computing world is slightly different with the hybrid. Our view or the framework that we use is at the top. You can see the five fundamental pillars, from product innovation and channel diversification to the customer experience, driving operational efficiency and the security and the compliance, and then obviously modernizing the core. And what we have done in the framework is, because it's not very easy to go and talk to the business of the banking and then come and say, okay, we are here as the ICT provider. I think we realize that it's very important when we talk about digital acceleration, we need to kind of tie it and have a bit of knowledge around, the domain and the industry. And what you can see on the slide, I mean, if you take product innovation and channel diversification, things like the smart ATM, things like the vendor and the third-party integration, something around global transaction and cross-border banking. Each of these elements is where MTN can bring to bear the solutions that I think my colleagues were talking earlier around where we are moving and how we are becoming relevant to the different industries in digitization. So I've spoken about the government, I've spoken about banking, and just another way, which I will cover a little bit more details, is the whole advent of private networks, and what we are seeing, some of the trends, and this is pan-industry. Some of the common use cases that are pursued across industries is what you see on the screen here. And what we have done is, there's a lot of research that's going in. I think some of the elements like, if you talk about the healthcare sector, remote surgery or, connected robotics, from a maturity of the technology perspective, we are kind of seeing that implemented more in the long-term perspective. However, in the short term, we are definitely seeing across all the countries on the continent, things like the sensor monitoring, things like drones for inspection across different industries, manufacturing, be it logistics, be it ports, becoming very relevant, in the digitalization, the smart CCTV, the different variables, these are all short terms, and the network maturity that we as MTN have in the country really augments and helps us to move, push the digitization. And then from a medium-term perspective, I think I spoke about, from a government perspective, the smart cities, the virtual tourism, the VR for telemedics, et cetera, becomes quite relevant. And these are some of the common digital use cases that we are busy with the different industries across Africa. So that's a little bit about digitization, what we are seeing. When we talk about, I think today's theme is about accelerating digital transformation, and as MTN, I think we are very clear that we want to be the operator of choice, the telco of the choice, the telco to techco journey, where we are expand a little bit of what has been our journey as MTN, what are the key investments that we're making, and what are the assets that we can bring to bear to Eswatini, working with our colleagues on the ground. And again, some of you might be aware that as MTN, our biggest investment that we're doing is around platforms. We want to be known as the top platform company that's underpinned by the largest connectivity network. I think I'm not going to touch more on the network. I believe that you already have got a good view on that. So I'm going to dive a little bit more around what are the investments that we're making from a platform perspective and the relevance it can bring to bear from accelerating your digital journey. So effectively, if you look at, fintech, which is a very, very interesting area. It's no more in our infancy. It's very matured. Effectively, the whole convergence of financial services and telcos into the fintech position is something great. We do have platforms, a platform which is called Momo, which talks a whole variety of things from payments to lending to savings. It's some amazing success that we're seeing on of this platform in the different countries. In the API marketplace, which is on the right-hand side, a big investment of the platform is called Shenosis. Now, one of the important things for digital transformation, we believe, is to create that ecosystem where you can access the APIs into the B2B2B or B2B2C environment. And this is what Shenosis allows us. It's the biggest marketplace API on the continent. And there we are looking at aggregating, monetizing, the different access to the APIs that each one of you, whether you're from the private sector or public sector, can leverage. Obviously, the network as a service, this is something that we continue to invest on. But what I'm going to zoom in a little bit is under the middle of enterprise services, where I'm going to talk a little bit more and share with you the investments that we were making from an IoT perspective, Internet of Things, both on the IT and the OT, operational technology space, the investments that we're making from a network perspective, which is more on the software-defined WAN, the investments that we're making from a unified communication perspective. These are all the assets that we are creating within MTN, but I will also zoom into and give you a bit of a view of the partnerships that we are working with to ensure that we can the assets that we are creating is fit for purpose across the different industries to drive the digital transformation. And with that, let me introduce what we, I represent an entity called what we call MTN Convert Solutions. And as you can see, MTN Convert Solutions, we have got a very clear mandate. We are being tasked within MTN Group in building the next generation ICT solutions. Obviously, we leverage all the assets that we as a telco have. So it's a perfect convergence of telco assets, and that's where the journey from telco to techco kind of comes in. And so the areas that we focus on, the muscle that we are building together with our colleagues in Eswatini is around, as I said, the pillars of unified communication, what we call manage and modern secure network. So it's not just the layer 2 connectivity that we're talking about, but how do we create the elements of SASE, the elements of secured networks in that manage and modern kind of networks. I've spoken about the IoT, which I will detail. Cloud and collaboration and co-location. There's a specific reason of why we talk about co-location. I believe that as MTN, specifically, we have got a great asset, which is our data center. Across the continent, and sometimes when we look at the hybrid IT, where not everything, all workloads cannot be put on the cloud, you need that physical compute. And this is where, as a MTN, what we use our own regional data centers, can be leveraged for things like edge compute. Cybersecurity, another very, very important area that we kind of working, which I will touch on, and fundamentally the AI underpinned by what we call the private 5G. These are the key areas that we are focusing on. So maybe some of you might be surprised to say, but MTN, you are here for cell phones and the packages. Yes, that is very important for us. But this is where I think with Mandile and the team, we're moving into the next year. And the way we do it is, we create products and we create solutions. The reason why we call our products and solutions separately, because like a system integrator, our mandate is to kind of work with the system integrator and a consulting mindset where we can co-create solutions with you. We might not have all the products, but we can, if we understand the outcome that you're looking at, how do we then reverse engineer the outcomes that you're talking about to create the solution? The managed and professional services at the heart of it becomes quite critical. And then obviously the mega projects through system integrator. Very important is we as MTN Convert Solution, we go to the market through the MTN business, the MTN EBU. So that's where we work with our colleagues in Eswatini from an EBU perspective. And then we kind of build the capacity across all the opcos, and that is what we bring to bear in each of the areas. Now, very quickly, our journey from telco to techco, not going to spend a lot of time. I think you guys are all aware that we come come from the bottom left-hand side of core mobility. And as I mentioned, we are moving into what we call, for us, what the future revenue sources are. But in the context of this seminar, it's about, the digitization, the software services, the robotics, the vertical solutions. So that's been, I think, every telco kind of goes through this journey. So as MTN, we are very proud. That's the mandate of the MTN Convert Solutions, that how do we build this muscle, build this intelligence, build this asset so that we can bring in the region. And effectively, if you look at it, this is our strategy on one page. As I said that, certain things we want to build ourselves, which is in the middle, you see the self-build, and certain things we want to partner. Why reinvent the wheel? And this is where I'm not going to go through each one of them, but on the network, as I said, what the industry solutions around 5G, on the unified communications, whether it is hosted PABX, contact centers that we can offer, the cloud. I think it's about a lot of investments on a data center. And Microsoft is one of the key partnership that we are driving together, Microsoft and MTN, around Pan-Africa. On the IoT, it's the industry vertical solutions together with leveraging our connectivity platforms. As I mentioned, there's a massive investment. And on the security, it's around the security controls, together with solutions like our security operations centers are underpinned by SIM. So there's a massive investment at the bottom, as you can see, with the platforms and the alliances that we make to me. So back to the digital ecosystem, the way we look from a MTN perspective, leveraging the core telco, we look at the digital ecosystem and say, okay, there are certain digitization elements across the industries that needs the enhanced mobile broadband. We need mission critical control environments like autonomous vehicles, critical infrastructure, and we look at the QoE from a resilience perspective. And what I want to leave you guys with is few thoughts. Like when we talk about digitizing the core, we talk about how we can then leverage private network. And what you see on the screen are some of the use cases that we're working across the continent, across different industries, where things like, for example, safety and health monitoring of workers, things like, for example, sensor for environmental monitoring. I spoke about the surveillance and the drone camera, These are some of the elements that we are currently working, from the different industry vertical perspective. And typically the way we approach these things is through proof of concept. These are not standard formula that we can come and impose in your environment, but if we define what success looks like, and this is a very agile mindset that we use to kind of co-create and fail fast to prove the value. And if there is a value, then we can collectively work on commercializing this. From an MTN connected things, this is the IoT play that we have. On the right-hand side, you see all the different possible IoT technologies that we work with. But fundamentally, what it means is we do have our MTN platform, as you can see, which is what the IoT connected platform is. And as I spoke with the different assets, whether like Microsoft, we are then moving into the industry vertical solutions. And effectively, it's the big data. It's monetizing the data that we all know, that is very relevant in each of your organization. I do also understand that some of you, might be taking guidance from your head office if it's a Pan-Africa setup. And this is where we are also, you might find that, especially in the banks, with most of the banks, we are trying to work with the banks at your head office to implement this. So by the time your head office is bringing the solutions into Eswatini, you might find a lot of resemblance of what I'm talking about. We, end of the day, the telco to telco journey, our focus is very much as Convert Solutions, as MTN Convert Solution, is to focus on the industry vertical, which I think I've demonstrated through the presentation. I'm not going to go through each one of them, but one of the things I'm going to pick up is livestock and animal tagging. We know, working with our EBU colleagues in Eswatini, the possibility of, IoT from an agriculture perspective, from an animal tagging is paramount. This is one area that we have done really well, not just the tracking of the cattle, but it's also going beyond around the use cases of, whether it's temperature control, soil monitoring, and effectively getting the outcome which the government or the agricultural industry by and large needs is quite relevant. And the other thing is around the digital smart utilities. Like, for example, in South Africa, we are working with the government to look at smart meters, to look at, both on the electricity and on the the water side, as to how do we bring some of the smart utilities tying back to what the smart city sort of looks like. So these are quite an advanced stage, and we also have now got the kind of contracts that we have signed across. And to close it off, earlier I spoke about banking, so this on one sheet, we talk about the digital transformation, as I mentioned, across the 5 pillars of modernizing and reinforcing core, driving operational efficiency, enhancing customer experience. What you see is, if you are interested to kind of engage with us as MTN Convert Solutions, we're going to then work with our EBU colleagues to then have workshops with you to understand what are you driving on the ground and how we can come with the assets and augment it. This is my, I think, last slide that I have, or second last slide. On one sheet, this talks about everything that we can do. I'm not going to go through each one of them. As I mentioned, on the managed network, very, very critical, right all the way from SD-WAN to express routes that with the hyperscalers, unified communication, from contact center all the way to, PBX solutions. On the cloud side, a massive investment with the Microsoft, where if you are procuring Microsoft licenses, MTN is now signed up across the continent as what we call the CSP, and that allows us to, on your behalf, work with you to get the Microsoft licenses to look at your Microsoft transformation. On the security, I think I've also spoken about some of the controls we have. And then finally on the IoT, I think we have spoken. And the last thing is, these are all the slides that we have that then gives us all the partner ecosystem that we're working together, because we're not doing it as MTN alone, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel. Some of these partners, like if you can see on the solution and implementation partner, like for example, a company like TCS that we are working very closely with on the animal tracking solution. So in each of the solutions that we co-creating, we generally bring the assets of these companies, and then together we kind of co-create. I think that's kind of my last slide. Hopefully, I don't know if we have got any time for questions or comments, but in summary, we are working very closely with our Eswatini EBU colleagues to bring these assets that can drive digital acceleration in your environment. I'm just going to pause there, and maybe Lungile, Wandile, I'll hand over back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sudipto, for that presentation. We are now focusing on the room for any comments, any questions. He's still with us. We are within his time.
Maybe you can go back on video. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
We're taking the first comment, question. Okay. Sudipto, it looks like there are no questions. Thank you so much for the presentation, which was so rich. And thank you that you still could be with us, even though you could not come here physically. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity.
We will proceed with our program to the second speaker for the day. Before we take a break, there is a break that we will take it just after our speaker. I will introduce him briefly. We will now have Mr. Brighton Ngambole, who studied computer science, business leadership and accounting. He has been in the transformation projects from the then Royal Swazi Sugar Corporation, Swaziland Post and Telecommunications Corporation, Botswana Telecom Corporation, and currently is with Eswatini Revenue Authority. He's a short-term expert for the International Monetary Fund, specializing in project management, change management, information technology, and business strategy. In the last 6 years, he has provided IMF consultancy missions in African countries that include Nigeria, Ghana, Namibia, the Gambia, Liberia, Zimbabwe, and the Seychelles. At the Eswatini Revenue Services, he has been leading the digital transformation program since 2012. He is currently the Commissioner General and leading the transformation of the organization from an authority to service. Can you please welcome Mr. Brighton Ngambole?
Ngambule, as introduced. Can I just request the cover slide to come up? But while they are working on the slides here, yes, my name is Ngambule, currently at Eswatini Revenue Service. And thank you to MTN for inviting me here to be amongst these two things. One, I'm not sure how many times you go to the bank, but I go once or twice a year to the bank. And there is this thing that they call KYC. So each time I go to the bank is to complain why they need this thing. Because the previous day I would have provided the information. And then they tell me, go to the office and email. And I say, thank you. So otherwise, I don't have to go to the bank anymore. So are a lot of other, services that organizations deliver. The ERS being one. So we are now providing self-service for just about all the services, being filing and paying your tax obligations. And our ambition is that actually you should not even have to file and pay. You should not have to file returns and make payments, but we will set up the system such that the system will do that for you. So the system will connect to your logistics or ERP system, pull out transactions, populate your returns, be it PAYE or value-added tax. And if you are importing or exporting, the systems will populate your customs declarations for you. And then at the border, if you enroll into a preferred trader program, the one we're awarding just 2 days ago, you will not even have to stop at the border. So thanks to technology. So after filing your return, we also would like to make it very easy for you to pay. All you need to do is to tell us where your bank account is. That's all. So you can imagine that the system files a return, and then it helps you pay. So you now have to concentrate on doing your business. Okay, next slide. Now, with this digitalization, what is changing? I talked about smarter technology earlier. Smarter technology, processes are more intelligent and more autonomous. Customers more autonomous and a greater level of self-service. Employee roles change. This is where the problem is. The role that the employees play in the organization changes. And if you don't manage the change well, thank you. If you don't manage the change well, your digital transformation program will not succeed. So someone said, the technology will make it possible, but still people are the ones that will make it happen. And then there's a fellow by the name of Stuart Butterworth who said, the real measure for the best, maybe the only real measure for innovation is change in human behavior. Because face it, if you have this beautiful thing that you have implemented or developed, like what Sudipto presented earlier, it's there, it's beautiful, but if no one is using it, how then can we say that that innovation has been a success? So at the end of the day, you still need humans to come in and use whatever technology that you would have developed. And there lies in the problem. And the bulk of my presentation, as I shared with you, that I have become an IT marketing manager. So most of what I will say will be leaning towards what you need to do to improve uptake of technology, as opposed to the technology itself. So this is Gartner saying that in your digital transformation, you have a lot of beautiful technologies, cloud, big data, AI, unified communication, like presented earlier, Internet of Things, all of these beautiful things. But your success depends on what is sitting below the surface. That's where you find the human beings. And they say that technology. Okay, please shift it back. Thank you. So now look at the impact of the soft side of your technology. So if the technology is X, the soft side is 15X. Because apart from employees, apart from employees looking at business to consumer, you want the consumers to adopt the technology and do things differently, right? So in the case of MTN and your market base at Eswatini, you've developed a lot of beautiful products. You want uptake from the products. But if there's pushback from your clients, you will not see the uptake. So the question then is, how do I then tame the tiger down there? Why is change at human level so complicated? Because it is complicated. So if JP Morgan says there are 2 reasons. For a man always has 2 reasons for doing anything. Now I was tempted to change that to say humans, but then I thought maybe there was a reason why they are saying a man. because I don't know, but that's what the code is. But we can, improve it and say humans. But they said amen. 2 reasons. It says there's the good reason and the real reason. Now, imagine as a salesperson coming to make a sales pitch, and more often than not, the determinant of whether this person will decide a yes or a no is the real reason. And you don't know the real reason. But the best you can do is understand the good reason. And this is a point I was making earlier, I can't remember with who, that if, as a service provider, you make the time to understand the business of your clients, you can at least be, if this is 25%, you can be 25% there. How will you get to know the business of the client? Our websites have annual reports, there are strategic plans. So it would be really nice for service providers to come with solutions that are packaged, for the different businesses that we have. This one is very difficult. The real reason is quite a challenge. So someone attempted to unpack it. He says, the human mind is like this. So there is system 1 in the mind, system 1 and system 2. So system 1 is the conscious, system 2 is the subconscious. So it says there's an elephant and the rider. Together, they make up the decision-making process in our minds. Now, the rider continuously attempts to teach the elephant so that the elephant can go to where the rider, wants to go. But the problem is that the elephant does not always listen to the rider. That's one. And the elephant processes data very, very, very fast. And we can think about it in real life that we are sitting here. The elephant is the one that's looking after the circulation system, right? Pumping the blood around your body and managing all the other departments in your body. You don't have the time to be thinking, okay, now the heart must pump a little bit faster. Now slow down. Now dilate the pupils. Now you can't. But the subconscious is the one that's doing the work. And then he says, more often than not, when a decision has to be made, this guy makes the decision. But because this one wants to look smart, they then try to explain, the logic behind the decision. And we see that all the time. When you sit down and think, what were they thinking here? And then someone comes and validates, oh, this is what we're thinking A, B, C, D, and you'll think, it's not making sense. But now that's the complexity that we have. That as IT people, here you have your business out there, you have your users who are driven by, these are the emotions, who are driven by emotions. 99% of the time, in my experience, the systems work. Like your MTN, your network works 99.99% percent. But the 0.0001% that you have a problem, I'm telling you, you'll make headlines. You'll make headlines. So the IT stuff works. The network is always up and it's working. But this guy is the one that pretty much almost always gets the attention. My experience with systems, okay, I've got Temba here. We used to work together many years ago. So when I joined our organization, I won't tell you which one, I discovered my mandate was, please fix the billing system. It is not working. And we would go to executive meetings, and the chief financial officer will always come with a big file with statements that are wrong in codes, and says, nah, the system is not working, just look at this. And then after the meeting, I would go quietly behind him and say, okay, sir, please let me see the statements. Which ones are not working? And then he will pull one. In a big folder, maybe 100 statements, there's only one that's not working. But when it gets to the meeting, the narrative is the system is not working. Now, I don't know between these dimensions here, what was his reasoning? I don't know. But because he was very senior, he's always almost got the attention that the system is not working. So the lessons there is, don't just concern yourself about the technology or the mechanics of whether the system is not working or not. Concern yourself with the perception behind the system as well. So the system should not only work, but it should also be seen to work. And how do you do that? Now, I was coached by an accountant. He said, you see, your job is your customers, your users must be happy. Everybody here, the managers must be happy with the system and my email. And then he says, to make sure they are happy, it's simple. Go ask them, are you happy with the system? And if they say no, find out why they are not happy. And then go back to your team and tell them, Mr. So-and-so is not happy, please fix 1, 2, 3. Once they fix, go back and say, they're fixed, are you happy now? So if he says no, find out what it is that so I would do that until everyone was happy. And if the systems are down, I mean, we're running mission critical systems, we're running a factory. If the system is down for 30 minutes, they'll shut down the factory. And the cost at the time was 300,000 bucks an hour because the chemicals are in the big drums, right? But if that relationship has been kept, alive, no one will be complaining. You'd have a network problem running 2 to 3 hours. But just because the factory manager is aware what the problem is, there would be peace. So what's the message? What's the message here? The system must work and must be seen to work. Now, ProSci attempts to unpack, this mystery around this decision making. ProSci says those impacted by the change must be aware of the need for the change. They must desire to support they must have desire to support the change. They must have knowledge. They must have ability and do reinforcement as well. Clearly, still here, the desire will be a problem, and the awareness will be a problem as well. Because remember the elephant, and the elephant is driven by all sort of dynamics, including anchoring, social proofing, including what the people around you are saying. But Atka says, make an attempt, to make sure all of these things are in place. Just rewinding, just a few years ago, I joined one organization. I find the union and management, they are at loggerheads. So then I asked the union guys, okay, but what's the problem here? They said, no, management has made some changes to some of our policies without consulting us. I said, okay. Are the policies good for you? Yes, they are good for us. Okay. But you are not happy? No, we're not happy. Why are you not happy? We're not consulted. So what is your suggestion now? No, they must start afresh. What if they start afresh and they lower the benefits? No, they must start afresh. Do your people, do your constituency, do they approve? No. We are representing our constituencies, right? So where is this taking us? Okay, I'll come back to this one. So where is that taking us? So in our digital transformation journey, the message here is, let's go together with our key stakeholders. Let's make the time to make sure that right from the onset, we build support for the change. And I've seen change fail, but just because those pushing the change made the time to garner the support, the change would be supported. So many years ago, we visited the South African Revenue Services in Brooklyn. I think it was 2013. So we visit SARS, we were visiting customs. So they showed us their digital transformation roadmap, and it was very beautiful. So afterwards, we said, okay, thank you very much, we're going home. They said, no, don't go home yet. Go and see our traders in Pretoria. So we go and we visit the traders. And they also presented the SARS roadmap exactly the way that SARS presented it. And then they said, you see, SARS works for us. And I said, oh, SARS works for you? Says, yeah, SARS works for us because we are owners of business. What they are doing here is facilitate trade, make it easy for us to move goods in and out of the country. And I said, okay. And I said, but it looks like you have a problem here because the system has not been working for the last 2 days, and there's a blockade now at the border. They said, yeah, we understand that. We understand that. Every system has teething problems. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, every system has teething problems. They'll fix it eventually. They'll fix it. Now, that will come out if the key stakeholders were involved right from the onset, right? Because there's no way that you will not have problems. You will have problems along the way. But if you take your key stakeholders along with you, they'll step up and support you and protect you and even motivate you during difficult times. So the message here is build support right from the onset. In our own journey at the ERS, we are on Oracle Cloud right now, and thanks to MTN for providing the transportation system for the packets. So before starting the journey, we decided let's bring in the various departments that will be affected or impacted by the change. Let's get them to first understand this whole digitalization thing and that model that I showed you earlier. That's a Gartner model. Let's get them to understand it. Then let's go out there and talk to some of our key stakeholders like your accountants, clearing agents, etc. Get them to understand, and then we draw up the system specifications. As we're implementing, we were consulting, with them. So we went live March 4, which is about 2 weeks back. Now, we have a critical mass of employees in the organization that understand why we are doing what we are doing, that's one. And two, the project team that is driving the change is made up predominantly of the various departments that will be impacted by the change. So out of a team of 12, we have only, how many IT? 2 or 3 or 4? 2. In the project team, we have only 2 from IT, the rest are from business. And you must listen to the way they defend the system. They defend the system. When the supervisors will be saying, hey, but the system is not doing ABC, they say, no, it's okay, but it will fix it. They will do it. The programmers are really good. So the message, at least within the organization, the message is, IT should play a facilitating role and just bring in the business so that they do their part. So our plan is to roll out the system over 5 years, actually. The project itself is 24 months. We are concluding the project in October this year. And the idea is that we'll start implementing small changes, but rapidly. So we will grow really fast after the 2 years. after the 2 years of the project. And that's another way of trying to, address or preempt and minimize the impact of resistance. Okay, please go back. Yeah. So just going back to the elephant. The elephant is largely influenced by a whole lot of things: the environment, history, old behavior, and everything. So Precise says, if you want to manage change, understand the preferred senders of change messages. Understand who the preferred senders are. So business messages about strategy, those should be communicated mainly by the formal structure, CEO, all the way down. And then changes that are affecting the officers, the self, must be communicated by those who are closer to them. So if you understand who the preferred senders are, and we do that all the time, so whenever we are introducing big change, we'll start off by understanding, okay, what are the constituencies here? Who are the leaders of the representative bodies? And we talk to them, say, okay, you know what, we're thinking of doing ABCD, what are your thoughts? But the truth is we're not actually asking for their thoughts because we would have decided by that time, but what are your thoughts? And then they would ventilate their frustrations, and then in the end, okay, let's do it. Okay, now let's now go to your constituency together, right? Together, because again, if you think about the elephant, if I come in with a new message, but with the shop steward next to me, they'll think, okay, the shop steward has validated this thing, so we can go with it. Okay, let's go past this one. So the problem in change management is actually transition management. Please just step forward. Yeah. It's actually transition management is the fear of what will happen to the self. So when the change is on the horizon, there's always confusion, denial, etc. But fast forward, after a while, everyone is happy. I'm not sure how old some of you were when the first mobile phone came, and I'll tell you it was 98 or 99. Some of us were already working, and I remember they came to offer us at Simunye, and the meeting was not well attended because people were saying, what are they saying? We must carry this thing. Why should we carry this thing? Because we've got a phone in the office. But today we're carrying 2 or 3 phones. Today we're very comfortable with the change. Actually, if you forget your phone, you turn back to the house to get it, because everything is sitting in the phone now. Your day will be very, very frustrated without your phone. But 20 years ago, we thought, no, we don't need this thing. We'll all find ourselves carrying handbags now. Okay, please help me. Okay, so these are the various dimensions, but now this is talking to organizational transformation within organization. Those are the dimensions that we have to look at to manage. No? Please go back. Yeah. So these are the various dimensions that you need to manage. The most difficult one is this one: mindset, attitude, beliefs, critical behaviors. Don't make the mistake of not changing your processes as you digitalize. Change your processes. I think actually it should be the first point of call. Change the process. There is this story that was told by a colleague, a senior HR colleague. He says, with the introduction of computers, they had to shut down the typing pool in the organization. I'm not sure if some of you may not know it. Basically, I don't think you know it, type right. So when we started working, there was a typing pool. So all your handwritten documents will be taken there to be typed, and then they'll bring them back to you, etc. But as we introduce computers and laptop, the need for a typing tool sort of diminished. So this one organization introduces computers and laptops so that everybody does their own typing. But no one changed the process, and nobody told the HR officer that we are now electronic, no more typing pool. So the process was, each time there is a vacancy in the organization, the HR officer will initiate a recruitment process to fill the vacancy. So this one time, 3 or 4 ladies retired, and the senior guys were like, oh, it's fine. After all, we don't need a typing pool anymore, but nobody told the HR officer. So the HR officer initiated the recruitment process, and before you know it, 4 officers were recruited to fill in those that had retired. Meantime, the function had been switched off. So now, because this was a government official election, because it's not easy to let go of officers, they had to retain them and wait for them to retire. Simply because they skipped that very, very important process there. They changed the process and then communicate with everyone that the process has changed or the process has been automated. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my message. Less of IT. I told you I've been marketing manager for the last X number of years. But I trust that this is going to help you in managing the transformation in your organization. Because until you manage the human side of your transformation, you will not see the results that you wish to get. So thank you very much.
Any questions or comments? We have a roving mic. Thank you. Even doers.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What an amazing presentation. And I think for me it's amazing because it's quite an interesting take on really where we are even in my own space where I work. So the question that becomes, what if I'm now halfway or 3/4 way through the change and I've skipped some of the critical steps that you're talking to, especially the going with the stakeholders. We're now within and well in it. And now how do you garner that support? Most sort of, now it's after the job and after the case. So now how do you then garner that support to get that holistic approach to what you're speaking to? For example, you said you have a project team of 12 people, less IT, the implementers, more the users. So that step has not happened, you've moved. How do you now bring them back into the project to sort of give it that support that you spoke about?
Okay, yeah. If there's another question, let's take it so that you can just do all of them at once.
And how do you get the real reason?
Thank you. Mine is about where you spoke about changing the roles for employees. We know that you're talking about automation and everything, and in some instances you find that you can't retain the people, like the example you just gave about the government officers in the typing pool. So how do you actually manage that? Because I feel it's easier said than done, but I'd like to know your...
How do you retain?
How do you manage that? Because in some instances you can't retain everyone, even though you might change roles. How do you deal with that amicably?
Hello. Hello. Okay, I think mine would be just a comment. From the years of experience in IT, us as IT experts, we believe the systems will talk for us. And I think it's just the emphasis on the marketing aspects of things, because when I moved to the position I'm in now, there's more talking than doing the actual work. And the people like finance are vocal. So, and you still want to hold on to the notion that the system will talk for you. So yeah, for me, I've seen the downside of this being quiet in the corner and thinking your system will talk for you. So no, thanks for that. It's critical actually.
Thank you, Mr. Ngambule, for your presentation. It was refreshing. Actually, it allowed us to reflect a bit on where we are as an organization. What I observed is you started a story and didn't finish it, and I'd like to hear the end. You found management and staff at loggerheads. How was that resolved? Thank you.
Okay. We are three quarters down the road with the change or with the transformation, and we have missed out some key stakeholders. So what do? It's never too late. It's never too late. Because I will tell you, from the ADCA, from this ADCA model, even in cases where you have everyone with you, because we are in a dynamic environment, 2-3 years down the road, you start encountering problems. Some people say we were never consulted, right? And you have to go and dig the emails and say, but you were there. We were there, we were together. Everyone, we were there, we were together. No, we were not consulted. Oh no, we didn't understand. This thing was too cryptic, we didn't understand. So, one, it's never too late to expand your stakeholder network. It's never too late. Number two, the only time that you can conclude that you've done well with the system is when you've just stopped using it. Because users love the system you've just switched off, right? That's the one that works. But while you're using the system, they'll be telling you, but this system is nonsense, the previous system was better, we want a replacement. You get a replacement, within 2 weeks, by the way, I've experienced this as well, because just last week, the colleagues were saying, hey, we should not have switched off the old system. So it happens all the time. It happens all the time. So it's a moving goalpost, in short. The only time they'll start loving it is when you say, okay, this one, we've switched it off. Then it will end 10/10. So until then, you're playing your marketing role. You're always playing your marketing role. Because again, your system is continuously getting upgrades and patches, etc., right? Which will come and disturb sometimes stuff that is working. Right? And out of a system, maybe with 1,000 things, if it just fails to do one, that one will be a reason good enough for you to be expected to switch it off. So in short, it's just that they don't teach this thing in, I know most of you would have studied computer science, they don't teach you these things. They only teach you how to program and how to deal with packets and switches. But out here, you will come out and discover that the deal breaker is really the perception of your clients on the system. Not not really whether the system delivers functionality or not. So that means we always have to be careful about what it does. It must deliver the promise, and it must be seen to be delivering the promise continuously. So the role of the IT manager is the marketing manager in the organization. How do you get to know the real reason? This one is very tricky. It reminds me, many years ago, I used to play golf in Simunye. So I walk into at Nelspruit, the pro shop. I buy 3 golf balls, Nike balls. And then on our way home, my daughter says, "But this thing is very expensive. Why don't you buy the ones by the golf course, the ones that are the used ones, because they are much cheaper?" And I said, no. You know, the new ones are nice and they are softer. And they say, "Soft? What do you mean soft?" Now, the reason I bought the ball was that Tiger Woods had won a tournament the previous day. But how do you explain that? How do you say, "Oh, you see this ball, this type of balls makes you win"? So I had to come up with another reason, and there were 3 or 4 different reasons. So at times, there is a real reason. It's just that you may never know it. There is a real reason somewhere, yeah. And in organization, then it means you need to look at what others are doing. So when you come and sell me technology, you'll come and say, "SAS is doing this, what do you think?" Obviously, you know, give me the top ones. If you come and say New Zealand Revenue Administration is also doing ABCD, when are you going to do it? I'll be saying, "Oh, soon." And then we start making plans. You know, we try and understand what they are doing. So there's this thing called social proofing. You know, look at what your cohorts are doing, and then come and make your sales pitch. Okay, but sorry, this is a tough one. You'll never know the real reason. Retention is a very big problem in IT. That's why there's a big market for software as a service. There's a big market for cloud, because with cloud, I know I would have signed up with MTN, and unlike going to hire a few engineers who will every once in a while tell me they've got a better job somewhere. So I would have signed up with MTN, and there's continuity. There will be continuity. Software as a service is where I suppose most of us are going to, because again, you'll sign up with someone who will not leave you and give you 1 month notice. The system will talk for you. Yes, the system will talk for you. The system must do what it's supposed to do, but it's not enough. It will never be enough. So as IT manager, you are the marketing manager for your organization. And also being a service provider like MTN, like I said earlier, your network is always up, but you also have to come with this bit, make us believe that it's always up. When you know that you will do an upgrade, just drop a note and say, "Oh, you must expect this, there's an upgrade that I'm doing tomorrow. I don't anticipate any downtime. But in the event there's downtime, please understand, I'm doing an upgrade." Because we are on the cloud, which means we are relying on you. We are relying on you. So if you anticipate that there will be a problem, let us know in advance so that we can also communicate to our constituencies. And we understand. And as someone said, with the human mind, if you take away uncertainty, then there's order. You know? So your system can be down for an hour. If you tell me it's going to be an hour, we'll try and find other things to do. But the system is down for 15 minutes and you don't tell us. we'll say the system has been done the whole day, all morning. So it's always management of expectations. So this group that was at loggerheads, this one had to be started afresh. They were adamant that we were not consulted. So start afresh. Because if we let go now, you will do it again. At the risk of impacted negatively as staff. So let's do it again and do it right. But I suppose it's human nature. So I was not consulted, even though you are delivering a product that's good for me, but I was not consulted. So I don't trust you. Next time you might just come up with a product that I'm not going to like. So get to the habit of consulting me. So program director, thank you very much. It's been good to be here, and I can probably share my real reason also of coming here. When the invitation came in, this is a very critical part of our financial year. It's the last 8 days in the year, so we are always running helter-skelter, reminding our clients to comply. But then it struck me that this is going to be one opportunity that I will have in March to interact with IT people like you, as well as MTN, because from next financial year we are likely to take over some of the government collection services, like your passports, licenses. So I thought this is good for us to interact and network, and and build the relationship, with MTN, because not only are they now the gateway to our systems in the cloud, but they are part of our primary value chain. So that's the real reason. It's networking. It's networking. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the reason. It's a good reason. So at this moment, we're going to break for our tea. Can we please robustly engage? I've got so much I want to talk about, but offline. So let us engage over tea. We'll then come back after 15 minutes. I think if we make it quick, because we are live streaming also. So to those who are watching us online, we're taking a 15 minutes break. Thank you.